Hello everybody, it's Brad. I finally have gotten my hands on the Floriani Total Control U. It has driven me absolutely nuts that I wasn't able to find any videos or pictures even of what the layout of the software was going to be. I had all these ideas in my head of what it was going to be like, and well, they turned out to be pretty accurate anyway. So here's the program. I've got it up on my screen right now, Floriani Total Control U. This is it, and at first glance it looks pretty close to what we're all used to, Floriani Total Control Professional. And that's because they made every effort to have the buttons look more or less the same for this program, and have the layout in general of where everything is look very similar to the Floriani Total Control. So this video is going to be kind of a first impressions. Here's what I think about the software. Good news, I am pleased. The software is not bad. There's a lot of good things here. There's a couple of things that we lose transitioning to Total Control U from Total Control Professional, but as you know, you do not lose your Floriani Total Control Professional. When you install this software, you still have your activated version of Floriani Total Control Pro. So if there's something that you don't like about the new software, well, hey, just go back over to the old software and use it there. Or you can even go and like I showed in my last video, you can actually download a free update for this that will actually turn it into the new Designs and Machine Embroidery version of it called Perfect Embroidery Pro, which is going to continue to get updates and work exactly the same way. So anyway, that said, this video is about Floriani Total Control U. So what is it like? Well, there are a lot of things that used to drive me absolutely up the wall about Floriani Total Control Professional, and many of those things are different now. So let's talk about some of them. Let me just go ahead and bring in a shape real quick. I'll put some stitches to it. So I've got this shape here and it's blue. Previously in Floriani Total Control Professional, if I wanted to change this from blue to, say, another color, I would have to go down and look at my color wheel down at the bottom, which would only have, what, 6 color choices, and I'd have to add a color choice in by left-clicking on the color, and then to actually make my selection and change the thing to be a different color, I'd have to right-click on the color, which is completely counterintuitive, and that just drove me up the wall. Now, in a much more reasonable way, you just left-click on the object that you want the color to change, and then left-click on the color you want it to change to, just like one would think you would be able to do to change the color of something. So that, I think, is very good, although now that everybody is used to having done it the other way, it's probably going to cause some confusion. But not for me, because I tell you what, I was always clicking the wrong way, and I can't tell you how many times I had to start my videos over because I just sat there left-clicking on a color, forgetting that it was the other way around. Anyway, consider that rant over. I'm just pleased with the way the color wheel works down here. We have, down at the lower left-hand part of the screen, this little icon for selecting the thread chart. All these different thread charts are in here, including Floriani, Poly, Premium, all that, of course, is in there. R&K Micro Thread is in there. And then all the other brands of thread. I personally like to use the embroidery brand thread here because it is a 64 color box of crayons. You don't have, 1,000 colors all the way down here. And when I'm digitizing, I want light green. I don't want, like 57 shades of light green. So anyway, that's that. The colors are nice down here. I like that. I like that they kept it at the bottom instead of moving it up to the top, so to kind of keep a little bit of continuity in there. Other stuff that I like the way the sequence view works now. It is so much better than the old sequence view. In the old sequence view, you had little teeny tiny pictures of the area that you have selected, or not the area that you have selected, but every element of your design. Like, so let's bring in some other shapes here. I'll bring in a circle, and I'll apply a fill to it here. Okay, so we've got, we can see these two different elements in here. They're very, while they're not very big, they are way bigger than they used to be in the old sequence view, and that is another thing that used to drive me up the wall, is the way the sequence view worked in Total Control Professional. In this, it's much easier to deal with, and it's much more clear what exactly it is you're looking at in the sequence view, not only because the pictures are large, but they have a better description of what each thing is. The fill is okay. So we've got this is all the area that is red, and then this is this red fill inside of this. So if I had another red thing, split off of this, I would have like more things under here. That's not a very good explanation for what I mean. In general, it's just easier to deal with. Just trust me on that for now. I will, of course, be making more videos that are going to be in-depth about what all these different buttons do that are all over the place in this program, and more, in general, how to do stuff rather than just what I think about it. All right, let's see. I made a whole list of things that I like, and don't care about. So let me look at my list here. Okay, selecting colors, I talked about that. Sequence view is usable. I like that. Ooh, the backdrop tool is different slightly. And let me show you how. When you go to bring up a backdrop in this, Floriani Total Control U, it works more or less. Oh, this is a design that I had already up. So this was actually, I already had this backdrop selected. Let me get rid of that. We'll just make a new file here. Okay, so you bring up the backdrop tool to go in and select your backdrop, and that's going to work like normal. Here's that bunny that we did the video on a couple months ago. We'll bring him up. So my backdrop tool is here, and sweet, there's my bunny. Works the same way as it used to. But now, if I want to get rid of or change this backdrop, I can do it by right-clicking on it and hitting load backdrop, and I can actually change what my backdrop is. Say I didn't mean to click that bunny, I meant to click on this Baltimore Ravens logo. There we go. Way, way better, because in the old version, let's go to Floriani Total Control and bring up a backdrop. Ravens logo. Oops, I didn't mean to bring that up. I wanted to bring up the bunny, say. Well, in this, that's just kind of too bad, because you can't change what backdrop you have chosen. You have to actually go and create a new file in order to bring up your backdrop, which I always thought was ridiculous. So that's good. Alright, backdrop tool. What else do I like on here? Save to sew. I like that they have this save to sew option still on here. There's another software, Masterworks. Okay, this is very similar to Masterworks. I'm not going to lie to you. I sell them both. And this and Masterworks, there's not a whole lot of difference between them anymore, because this works the same as Masterworks now, a lot of the things. But one of the things that I don't like about Masterworks is you can't go in and change what recipe. They use a thing called recipes in Masterworks instead of save to sew. You have to pick it at the beginning instead of at the end. So, that's kind of annoying. If you forget to do it at the beginning, then you can't apply a recipe to the design. And in this, you can go in and do the save to sew, tell it what type of fabric you're going to sew out on, and everything at the end, which is pretty sweet, I think. What else? Oh, I like that it does design splitting, and I know that Floriani Total Control Professional did design splitting, but Masterworks doesn't. So that's a plus on Floriani's side. Oh, no blue highlights. Oh, God, yes. I have a video where I show you how to turn off the fact that things get highlighted in blue when you select them in Floriani, which used to confuse the heck out of me and everybody in my classes. Why is this blue instead of red, or whatever color it was supposed to be? Well, it's because you have it selected, and your program highlights everything in blue when you select it. So in this, it just puts a box around it, which is, I think, a much more reasonable way to go about showing you that something is selected. Just to show you what I mean, in Total Control here, I'll make a new file here. We'll just draw some kind of shape, and we'll select it. Look, it turns blue. So even if this thing, I make it orange, it's orange, it's blue. Why would you have that set as the default setting? I don't know. And I'm just venting now because, I always had to pretend like I wasn't mad about the fact that it did that and all these other things that drove me nuts about the program. So anyway, back to Total Control U. I like that there's no blue highlights by default. Let's see. Just the layout in general of the way things work in this. I like the way the buttons are up here. I think that they look good. And I do like that they kept everything in more or less the same spot. One thing that is a little silly, though, is that you've got this down here at the bottom. You've got these different stitch types to choose from, and some of them are redundant. Like, for instance, you've got the steel stitch down here and up here. Why do you have two buttons for the same thing? I know why. It's because they've got you know, they want to keep it in the same order that everybody's used to up here. I just think it's a little redundant. I also don't like the decision to have these tools down at the bottom by default. I think that there's no reason to set these apart from the rest of the program, but on the plus side, this toolbar is movable. If you move over where these little dots are here, you can left click and drag this up to its rightful spot at the top, which also fills in a lot of this blank space, empty space up here. So your digitizing buttons that allow you to make all these neat new different types of fills that we have are right up here where they ought to be, I think. So there's that. All right, so let's talk about some things that I am not a huge fan of. Now, take this and don't worry too much about these things, because all of these things, well, not all of them, but most of them can be rectified by the fact that you still have your Floriani Total Control Professional software, so you can go back and do things the old way and everything will be fine. One thing that I am not a big fan of is the way that they have the manual stitch set up now. The manual stitch is you make a stitch by left clicking. Each left click is one stitch. Okay, so you have to be very careful about how long each one of these stitches is, because you don't want to make them too long, you don't want to make them too short. Too short, and they are going to make your machine jam and have unnecessary stitching. Too long, and well, you can't really have a stitch be more than, I think, like 11 millimeters on a home machine. It just won't even sew out if you did that. But even so, you don't want to have a bunch of like 6 millimeter long running stitches. That's like a basting stitch. So you have to be careful of how long your stitch is. And in the olden days of Floriani Total Control Professional, when I use my manual stitch, look what it does. Oops, I didn't mean to zoom that far in there. It shows me the length of each stitch. So if I set this in metric, and I use my manual stitch, look, it's showing me, okay, this is a 2.5 millimeter stitch. Boom. 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 I can keep them all right around that. It's great for making quilting designs and making all kinds of things, actually. You can make any design with a manual stitch, literally. You could just sit there and plot it stitch by stitch. But without knowing exactly how long the stitch that I'm drawing and not having a frame of reference for that, oops, I just opened Masterworks. Sorry. Without having a frame of reference for that, you know, it's not very useful. So I don't like that. Hopefully that can be added in an update at some point. It probably will be. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. What else do I have on here? No good TrueType digitizing. What does that mean? Oh, I know what that means. The text tool in here is very similar to what you're used to. You left click, and now instead of just putting in a capital letter A, when you use your text tool, it puts in the word my text, just like another software called Masterworks does the exact same thing. But we have this list of fonts. There's tons of fonts built in, just like there used to be in the old one. Lots and lots of fonts. And if you can't find a font that'll work for you in this, you know, list of fonts, then, you know, God bless you, because you are very picky. But if that is the case and you need to use a TrueType font instead of the one of the fonts that's built into the software, unfortunately, this does not do a very good job auto-digitizing the TrueType fonts. It just plain does not. Just by default, it's going to automatically bring up this warning that's telling me that I've made satin stitches that are too wide. And so basically what it's done here is it's applied a satin type stitch to this entire area here. They're not done with well, they call them column stitches. I'm not sure what they call them in this program yet, because I just haven't used it long enough yet. But there's a type of stitch where you can choose the stitch direction here, choose the stitch direction here. It's satin stitches where you're actually would break this up into pieces and have, you know, instead of having the whole thing, the stitch direction going like this, which is crazy. You don't want that. Like in this T, like you don't want the stitches going boom, 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 like that. You want the stitches on the top going boom, 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 if you know what I mean, with my onomatopoeia of sewing noises, I guess. Anyway, it's been a long day. Give me a break. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of the way that does that. Of course, you can get around that by changing your fill type from satin to smooth, and you can then make these letters as big as you want. But then they're not satin stitches, and they're not as shiny or pretty. So that, I'm sure, can be addressed in an update. Or you can just do it the professional way and bring in your TrueType font as artwork and then manually digitize each letter yourself, which is the way you really ought to do it anyway. It is much prettier. But like so, I can go in here and draw my stitch directions in. Boom, there's my O. Very pretty O. I could take my T, go in and use the shape tool. Are you the shape tool? No. Are you the shape tool? Yes. And slice them up a little bit. And use my shape tool again. Slice them up a little bit. Like so. And then I can go in and do each part of this T as a separate piece. Kind of like that. And kind of like this. There we go. Much better, much better. So it is possible to digitize TrueType fonts in a reasonable manner, but it does not do it for you automatically. So yeah, there's that. Like I said, not a huge deal breaker or anything like that. It's just kind of the way that it is. What else don't I like? Oh, you know, I kind of feel like they could have made the buttons bigger. Like, look at all this wasted real estate up here. The buttons, the icons could be a little bit bigger. And down here, like, we got all this space. I don't know. I'm nitpicking at this point, honestly. Just ignore me. Okay, I totally forgot to talk about what is probably the most important thing, I think, is that the auto digitizer works in this version of Floriani. In the previous version, Total Control Professional, auto digitizing was horribly broken, almost to the point of being completely useless. That's why I didn't really make very many videos on the auto digitizer. Happy to say that is not the case in this. This auto digitizer works great. And let me just give you a quick rundown of why I like the auto digitizer in this and hate with a fiery passion the auto digitizer in this Floriani Total Control Professional. Here's why. Let's see. I'm gonna do it in Total Control U first, just to show you the way that it works now. Your auto digitizer is in roughly the same spot as it was before up here. Little arrow next to it. You can pick the little wizard hat, put on your robe and wizard hat, and we go in here and select an image. I'm gonna do this Ravens logo because this is a good example of what I'm talking about here. So I pick my design that I want to be auto digitized. I hit next. I set my size. Let's say we're gonna have it 200 millimeters wide. That's reasonable. That's about 8 inches. We'll hit next. On this next screen is where we can go in and edit our image. It shows me how many colors we have in here, and we're gonna go and edit this image because there's one thing that I want to do to this to make this perfect for auto digitizing. So go into hit edit image. It opens up MS Paint. Everybody's got it. It's on your computer. And what I want to do is I want to change the background color of this image, because what this is going to do is remove the background color from the image altogether. And if it did that with the background being white, I would have no stitches here in the B, I'd have no stitches in the eye, and I'd have no stitches in the beak of my Ravens logo. So I'm going to make the background color a color that is not in the design. This pink color is what I usually use. There's not generally a whole lot of pink in my design. So make the background pink, and I just exit and save, and it brings it into my auto digitizer here. Sweet. I hit next. It automatically detects the background color as being pink, and we don't want to check that, otherwise there would be pink all around the design when it digitizes. This is also different from the way that it worked. You had to pick the background color yourself. It didn't do it for you in the previous version, which I thought was very rude. We're going to hit next, and here you just leave everything the way that it is and then say finish. You wait for an amount of time. It depends on how powerful your computer is. My computer is pretty mighty indeed, so it didn't take very long. So there is my design. Could I have done this better by digitizing it manually? Of course, I could have done it better. But this is pretty darn good for an auto-digitized design of a image that I downloaded over the internet just using Google image search. And don't worry, I'll make you guys a sweet video just like I did for my Masterworks people on how to use Google image search to find awesome artwork to auto-digitize now that we have a working auto-digitizer. So what is the difference between what I just did here and what I could do in Total Control Professional? Well, let's find out. So here's my Total Control Professional. I use the auto-digitizer. I'm going to pick the exact same image. I already have it selected, but just for the sake of showing you that I'm using the same image, here it is. Open it up, hit next. What did I say, 200 wide last time? 200 wide, and we're going to hit next. So we get to my editing screen here. We're going to hit Edit. And okay, it's a bit smaller than it was in the other version, but whatever. We're going to go and use my paint bucket tool and the paint color here. And wait a minute. What's all this fuzz around here? And why can't I fill it in with my paint bucket? The problem here is that a JPEG image generally does not have perfect color all the way through the whole thing, and we've got this little bit of color bleeding going in, and so even though this looks white, it's actually like 150 shades of off-white, which is why it's not letting me fill this in. It's called image noise. Floriani Total Control U removes it automatically before you get to this stage in the digitizing process, and this doesn't. So that's unfortunate. Now, anyway, we're going to go ahead and close out of this, exit, save, and just go ahead and finish the auto-digitizing process. I want to make sure that I have a check mark in my white, and I want to make sure I don't have a check mark in my pink. And we're going to hit finish, and let's see what it spits out. Well, blue highlights aside, this is a hot mess right here. This is ugly. And this is why, except for that one video where I used a very tailored image, which I still had to go in and fix after the auto digitizer worked, I never make you videos for auto digitizing on on Floriani Total Control Professional, because it is broken. So that's a good thing. Our new one. Look how much better this looks. I mean, it's the same image. It's exactly the same image. And this is what we get with the auto digitizer on this. So that's a big like in my book. All right, I've been here all day long, and I'm done making videos for the night, but I wanted to make sure that I got this out as soon as possible, just to let you know what I think about it. In a nutshell, I think it's great. There's some things that I'm not a huge fan of, but I'm very picky, so you can't really take that. And I'm sure the things that I think are questionable decisions are things that should be able to be taken care of. And I'm going to go and start making videos that are a little more in-depth, that actually, as I customarily do, show you how to do things rather than just yelling at you about things. So that's what I think of the software. I think it's awesome, and you should use it, but don't get rid of your Floriani Total Control Professional. There is a couple of things that it does that are still very useful, so it's nice they don't make you get rid of that. And anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.